Hello there, guys. It's Friday, the weekend ahead of us. That means one thing. It's time for another big old chat about the video games industry because this is VGC Off The Record. My name is Steven, and I'm your host today, and I'm joined by two wonderful guests, as always, our very own tied old hack, Chris Scullion. Chris, are you good today, mate?
Yes, very good. Can't complain. Same old.
We've got someone today stepping in for Andy, who's actually being a family man, like doing his, family stuff. He's away with his kids having fun or something like that. But either way, we've got a very, very special guest. We've got Joe Merrick, the webmaster of Cerebi.net, the biggest Pokemon news and information site in the world. And Joe's stamina, honestly, it's ridiculous. He's been running Cerebi now for a ridiculous 22 years. 22 years. I don't know how you manage that, mate. And continues to be first with the Pokemon news from all around the world. Joe, firstly, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's good to have you. And how are you today? Are you well?
I'm all right. I'm very flattered by that intro.
I can keep going if you want to. We like to know you guys feel welcome. How's it been running a site like that with that much influence in the community, in the space for that long? I mean, did you expect it to be going on for that long when you started it all those years ago?
I really didn't. I basically started it at school, and I never expected it to snowball how it has. And every year it gets bigger and bigger. Like, I think it plateaus, and then another game comes out and it gets even bigger. It's stunning. It's shocking.
Well, it's brilliant as well. It's brilliant that something like that comes from such an honest place, such a heartfelt place. It's essentially a passion of yours has become such an influential thing, and I'm all for that. I love it. I absolutely love the story behind it, and thank you for coming on today. But anyway, this is VGC. Every Friday we go off the record to deliver you the most considered, most informative takes on all the big stories from the world of video games. And if you're a fan of this and you like looking at our faces, like listeners to talk about video games, you can catch us every Friday afternoon on VGC's YouTube channel. But if you're more an audio listener and you're on the go, going to work or whatever, you can actually catch VGC Off The Record now as a podcast as well on all the major podcast providers around the world. So you got your Apple Podcasts, you got your Spotify's and all that kind of stuff. So you can find it here. But today's episode, anyway, of course, is going to be Pokemon heavy. There's 25 years of Pokemon this year. And obviously Joe's here. Chris as well knows a thing or two about Nintendo. And we've got plenty to talk about. We're going to talk firstly about McDonald's Pokemon Happy Meals, which are coming to the UK next month. Might be the first Pokemon Happy Meal I bought in years. Well, the first Happy Meal I bought in years, and I probably will be diving into that as well. And after that, of course, we'll be using Joe's insight and love of Pokemon to talk through all the big announcements recently, because there's been so many stuff coming out this year due to that anniversary. But let's get into that first story. And it's McDonald's Pokemon Happy Meals are coming to the UK following a US scalper chaos. Now, this full story, of course, is over on videogameschronicle.com. And it reads as follows, and it's from Chris as well, wrote this one. Well done, Chris. Good work there, mate. And he says McDonald's will be selling. That sounded so sarcastic. I didn't mean it in that way at all. I was just like, I've got to give the credit to the guy outside there with us right now. It says McDonald's will be selling Pokemon Happy Meals in the UK from May the 19th, which is lockdown gets better and better. Great news. Possibly containing the highly sought after 25th anniversary cards, which caused widespread sellouts in the US. The fast food chain's latest Happy Meal range, based on SpongeBob SquarePants, launched in the UK today, and the boxes feature a small tab at the top stating that Pokemon is coming soon to Happy Meal. And you can see the images. They won't be on screen because you might be listening for one by the podcast, but you can go and find them and the full article, and there'll be a link as well in the description to it. Apparently the contents of the toys have not yet been confirmed, but they will not include a plastic toy, which is obviously, it makes common sense given everything these days. It's exciting, this. What do you make of the news, Joe? Are you going to be front of the queue trying to get these? Have you been sent one secretly already? What do you reckon?
Well, I haven't been sent any, so... But
I wish I had the influence to sort that out. Unfortunately, I don't. So. Sorry.
I'm not going to be first in line for it, to be honest. It's going to be a nightmare, and Pokemon cards in general at the moment is a bit of a nightmare to get hold of anything whatsoever. I was expecting it to come. It's already come to France like last month, I think, and it was in Canada and the US. So it was inevitable that it was going to come here to the UK. But I just don't know how badly things will go.
Am I right in thinking that they're essentially, it's a 50 card set, isn't it? It's like 25 normal and 25 shiny, I think.
Yeah.
And am I right in thinking that they're basically reprints of old cards, but with the 25th anniversary
Yes,
thing on
you
them?
are 100% correct there. They are just reprints of the old cards, including the old layouts. But they, unlike the jumbo promo cards that are going out at Smiths and local game stores at the moment, these ones actually are numbered for the McDonald set. So
Right.
even though they've got different styles, they are not just the same card as before. They
Right.
are a set.
Okay. So that's been why they've been so
Yeah.
massively sought after them, presumably because they're like they're their own standalone thing.
Somewhat, but it's really just a combination of factors which has just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be hugely in demand. Hugely in demand now. If I can imagine the amount of parents will be using the kids as an excuse to go and get these as well. It's going to be ridiculous. Like it'll be the demand will be off the scale for this, and rightfully so. And to be honest, it's an incredible partnership. Two of the biggest brands in the world coming together for like this, and it is a moment. It's going to be absolutely huge. I expect they'll be unfortunately all over eBay or whatever. As soon as they can be. But and that's the problem with these scalper things. Like how can you even stop the scalpers, doing things like that? Because there's going to be like a black market of this kind of stuff, isn't there? And is it a bigger problem? Are we overthinking it, or is it a genuine problem in the scene?
It's very much a big problem in the Pokemon trading card game scene at the moment.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a whole combination of factors. You've got lockdown, which is giving people who have a job more expendable money because they're not going out for meals and that.
Yeah.
So they've been falling back into old hobbies. And then in September last year, Logan Paul jumped into Pokemon with box opening of the original base set. And that caused a lot of people to get back into Pokemon cards. And it especially got a load of people who are looking at it from a financial perspective, which is fine. That's fine to do, but it's been all at once. Yeah. And then there's also shortages because of the pandemic, because of Brexit here in the UK, because of a lack of shipping containers, because that's definitely a thing, and production issues. So it's just like a perfect storm at the moment. And basically any product which goes on a website, which is Pokemon cards, it sells out pretty much in minutes.
Yeah. I'm just reading the article now. Sorry to interrupt, Joe. It's basically reading the article further. It says McDonald's restaurants had to place restrictions on Happy Meal sales after they were targeted by scalpers reselling the cards on auction sites for hundreds of dollars. And according to social media reports, some collectors were buying the Happy Meals in mass numbers in hopes of obtaining new cards and then throwing out the food, which is just wow. It's just wow. I mean, that's peak capitalism. It's peak nonsense, isn't it? Unfortunately,
the Logan Paul thing, going back to that was like a grim moment, I thought, and all that, because
it's Logan Paul, so
yeah, well, yeah, but even so, but then the money that is changing hands for these now almost as maybe not as a direct result of that, but that certainly contributed to the fact that people are buying up old boxes of cards now for obscene amounts of money, like tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, is just beyond belief. And I would imagine, I don't know if I'm right, Joe, in thinking that presumably that's why a lot of people are buying up these cards now to almost to play the long game, because they're hoping that maybe in 20 years' time, they'll be worth a fortune.
There is definitely a lot of that, and there's also a lot of chase cards, which people like the big cards, usually Charizard, because Charizard, everyone loves Charizard apparently. And there's been a couple of sets lately with Charizard and Shiny Charizard, and that just gets people going wild because the Charizard cards always go for a lot more than any other cards on reselling on like eBay and places like that. And it's like the base set Charizard is one of the most expensive cards you'll get, which wasn't a like exclusive promo card, which there was like 20.
Yeah,
it is a bit ridiculous, and it is just hitting the TCG completely. I've seen people who have been playing the TCG for years and years and years want to stop because they just can't get anything anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's a shame, isn't it? That's genuinely a shame, because these things should be open. It's like they should be open for everyone to enjoy and invest. And like the cynic in me though suggests that they McDonald's and Pokemon probably won't be too bothered. They're making an awful lot of money out of this, and that's the worst thing about it. And I could be wrong there, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but the desire to change this and stem this must be hard when they're seeing the money come in and all that kind of stuff. And you'd hope they would, but you never know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I guess when is it again? When it comes into the UK on the 19th of May.
Yeah.
So that'll be very, very interesting. There's a McDonald's around the corner from me where I live, and that'll be rammed, absolutely rammed. I'm almost certain, absolutely certain.
I'm just disappointed there'll be no plastic toys as well, like because that's the kind of new thing. McDonald's have said as of this year they're not doing any more plastic toys. I bought my daughter a Happy Meal for the first time ever last week, and it was a Jurassic World thing, and it was just like a cardboard craft, make your own dinosaur. Well, that's a bit crap. Back in the day, you want a real dinosaur. Well, you're not a real one, obviously. That'd be a hell of a Happy Meal. That would be depending on the person. That's either a terrifying meal or from me, young me. Well, to be fair, the last Pokemon ones were a bit rubbish with it. Were they not like little plastic discs or something like that? I think.
Yeah, I seem to remember them not being great. Over the years, my parents did sometimes go to McDonald's and they did bring back Happy Meal toys, and there are some in both my house and my parents' house. I think my parents' rabbit plays with one at the moment.
Playing with potentially millions of dollars worth of product.
Yeah, millions. That rabbit's like, what about us real animals, man? Like just giving out to that thing. My this is a relatively true story. My cousin was a bit of a collector of the Happy Meal stuff as well. And remember the TV show Hoarders? Like he went on that show and they decided he wasn't hoardery enough, so they actually filled his flat full of stuff to make him look worse than he was. And they faked it. And I was very when you feel like the curtain's been pulled back and you see the truth behind it. I was like, and we already thought he was a hoarder, but he wasn't enough to be on the TV show, so they faked it. But they decorated his flat, so everyone was very happy. So for some reason they decided to make his flat more expensive. But that's a true story about hoarding there for you. But we have to obviously touch on the 25th anniversary of Pokemon, because it's a big year, and there's no better year to have Joe on obviously today, because he's literally missed a Pokemon. So there's loads to talk about, man. There's loads to talk about. How are you feeling about how the 25th year anniversary celebrations have gone? Have you been excited by it all? Is there anything that stood out in particular for you?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. Everything they've shown. Well, there's been. I mean, when they revealed Pokemon Legends Arceus, that was a surprise to everyone, because it's kind of completely the opposite of what they're going for with Pokemon so far, because it is a single player only game, at least as far as we are aware right now.
Yeah.
And Pokemon has always been about the social interactions, the trades, the battles. That's why Pokemon took off in the first place back in the 90s. And so seeing this new game, it's both exciting and terrifying.
What do you want from Arceus? Chris, I was going to say, because I mean, I'm one of those people that not everyone. I slipped a little bit from Pokemon. I haven't played one for a while now, but basically, seeing that, and obviously seeing that clear, in my opinion, Breath of the Wild influence, which is definitely not a bad thing. I mean, that did feel like a step in a different way for me, and I, as someone who's drifted a little bit from Pokemon, that got my attention, and I was kind of excited. I want to see. I do wonder if Pokemon Legends will be like a more or less essentially a console kind of spin-off, but that will become essentially an umbrella for those kind of big open world games. Do you think this is obviously this is the first step out, but do we want to see more of this kind of game? Chris, how do you feel about the idea of a big open world Pokemon? Because I'm both excited and apprehensive, because I feel like it could go very wrong, but it could also be brilliant at the same time, because it could be. It's very interesting, is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I'm on the kind of opposite side of Joe. Unlike Joe, I'm terrible at the multiplayer side of things, and that kind of gets me in a cold sweat. Like the idea of competing against people and trading and stuff. So the idea of a Pokemon game that doesn't have that actually excites me. Although I appreciate I'm probably in the minority there. That I don't have to think so much about all the different movesets and abilities and such. So that kind of gets me excited. But yeah, but ever since I was back at O&M like 15 years ago, on a daily basis you'd get readers writing in saying, we want an open world Pokemon, and you always sit thinking, do you though? Because it's like Joe says, that's not really what Pokemon is at its core. So it's going to be interesting to see when Legends comes out, if it is actually what people want, or whether people go, well, that was good, but we would rather just go back to the traditional formula, if that's okay.
What do you want it to be, man? What do you want it to be, Chris? Like, is there anything like that you want from the Pokemon in the open world that you haven't yet seen in the core gameplay?
I just want Psyduck by my side at all times. as long as it's got that, I don't care what it is. It could be a rhythm action game for all I care. No, I mean, like you say, the Breath of the Wild influence is quite clear, and if I don't imagine it'll reach kind of Breath of the Wild levels, but if it's even an attempt at that, but with Pokemon roaming the wild, I'm up for that. I'm at the stage where I don't really know what to expect from it, but I'm excited to try something different anyway, because we know the main series, the generation by generation, will still always be there, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. So we don't have to worry about this replacing it in any way. This is a kind of this is them getting basically a free hit at trying something different. If it doesn't work out, fine. But people got what they asked for because they always wanted an open world Pokemon. Let's see what it would be like, and if we like it, brilliant. We've now got 2 series to love, and if it ends up not being that great, okay, well, at least now we know what it would have been. Let's go back to the main series.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. Go on. You gonna say, Joe? Or
well, the way I've basically been explaining it to everyone is you've got the main series. And Sword and Shield is like a hybrid between the traditional and an open world, as you can see with the wild area, which wasn't that well received. But the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, they were much better received. Yeah, and they were much more cohesive open world environments. But you also had the traditional routes, traditional cities, and then you got Let's Go, which was a casual thing, definitely a casual thing, and now you've got this, which is, I think, is clearly targeted more towards the hardcore gaming audience. And the way I see it is, in a similar way to how the traditional main series, took elements from Let's Go into Sword and Shield, I can see elements from Legends potentially being in the next generation of traditional main series games. So it's definitely going to be something which is going to have an impact. 100%.
Does that concern you? Do you wish they were kept totally separately, or?
Well, as someone who covers the games at launch heavily, I'm terrified because the idea of covering something like the size of Breath of the Wild, the way I normally cover games, I am terrified.
It has got to the stage now. Like every time a new Pokemon game is announced now, Cerebi's been around for so long that it now does get to the stage when a new game's announced, I instantly think, how much work is that going to be for Joe? Like, because if it's like a remake of something, then you think, okay, well, hopefully that won't be too much work, because you would imagine a lot of the stats in Pokemon and that will be fairly similar, and there will hopefully be a copy and paste job involved there. But something like this, which is completely new, and you're going to have all these different areas, and here are the Pokemon that appear then at this time and that time, and that's just going to be like more power to you. But
close your eyes and think of the views. Close your eyes and think of the page hits. Be like, that'll get you through. That'll pull you through, man. Because it will be exciting though. Obviously, it's a new chapter for Pokemon. You know, it's a new thing, and obviously, it's something that I guess people like me who are a bit more casual Pokemon fans, I wanted to see something a little bit new. It feels a bit different, and like I think anything that can draw people potentially back into that ecosphere is a very good thing. And like, and I definitely it's caught my eye as someone once again that says you slipped a little bit from that world, and I was fascinated. So I was fascinated, and I was also fascinated, which is a nice little segue, by Pokemon Snap, new Pokemon Snap. I absolutely loved N64 Pokemon Snap. I was obsessed with it. I played it all the time, and like this was such a pleasant surprise for me to see this come back. I mean, I'm still not fully sure everything that we'll be able to do in this game, and I've watched the trailers, and I still think there's some questions to be answered and that kind of stuff. But we don't have to wait long now, do we, at all? Because it's released in 2 weeks today, unless it's slipped. It's 2 weeks today, I think, isn't it? Am I right with that? Yeah, 2 weeks today, which is, I mean, it's going to be perfect Friday night game. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to snap some Pokemon. It's going to be wonderful. What's your expectations, Joe, for the new Pokemon Snap? And I wish you'd called it Pokemon Snap 2, by the way. But it's very Nintendo to do that. But
because in 10 years, because I'm going to play new Pokemon Snap. Oh, is there a new one? No.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
old new Pokemon Snap.
I'm really looking forward to it. All the stuff they've shown recently, it's really been showing how cohesive the world is going to be, how much interaction there is. Like an image from Famitsu came out today, which had a Pelipper carrying a Pukumuku in its mouth. And you just there's just going to be so much variety, and with the photo editing feature in it, you're going to see photos of Pokemon all over the internet for the next couple of months. I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, I'm a bit concerned about length, because the last Pokemon Snap you could complete in about 2 hours max.
That's why I replayed it so much for what it's worth when I was younger. I remember going through it. I remember completing it about 3 or 4 times in one day as a kid, doing nothing else at the weekend. So you'd think it'd be longer, because modern gaming standards have changed since it doesn't. You can't get away with a 2 or 3 hour game anymore. Like you're looking at least minimum 12, 13 hours, I think, to be acceptable for the price. Do you think we'll get that?
They have revealed that the stages do change as you play it more. So the Pokemon will interact with you differently. And there's different variants for stages, lots of different routes. So I think there's going to be enough. And I'm really looking forward to it.
You've got to imagine there may be DLC down the line as well. Because from what I can gather, there's nowhere near all of the Pokemon are in it. No. So you've got to imagine that if it's popular enough, they'll go, oh, well, here's a couple more stages then. 10 of these.
I hope they don't like that, by the way. I think it's great, Chris, to go, a couple more stages here, by the way. That's that kind of thing. Just then casually drop it in there. No, I think this will be a big success. I've got a feeling, as Joe said, you'll see pictures of it all over social. Like a Pokemon photo editor mode. It's absolutely ripe for social media viral tendency, isn't it?
Well, I saw that Lawson newsagents in Japan are letting you, basically any snaps you take in the game, you can upload them to a website, and then you can go to this newsagent in Japan and print them out as actual photos. Which is just like, that's genius.
That's mad. That's Japan. I've never been to Japan. I need to go to Japan. It's absolutely brilliant.
That pretty much is Japan.
It's just Japan in a nutshell, but there's nothing wrong with that, man. Japan have fun. They know how to have fun. They definitely do. It doesn't end there, of course. It's the 25th anniversary. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes obviously have been confirmed for Switch. When they come in late 2021, is it? Have they got a release date yet? I'm sorry.
No release date yet.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. How do you feel about these remakes? These are obviously like much rumored. Everyone pretty much knew they were coming. Are you still excited though?
Yes.
That was convincing.
Yes.
They are going to be faithful remakes. And so what I want from a new Pokemon game is I want new stuff, new content. And I really hope there's going to be some new stuff in it. I never really want remakes, because even though, like Chris said, it makes my life so much easier, I want something new. I mean, if I'm going to do something, I want to completely different game in the old region. Like, I would have taken a game, Diamond and Pearl game, which was set in like Sinnoh 20 years later, something like that. That's what I would have wanted from a traditional new Sinnoh game.
Yeah,
but it's still going to be a fun Pokemon game. I have no doubt I'm going to have so much fun with it. It's just
Well, obviously, what did you make of the art style? Because that's one thing that's been a bit divisive. Chris, for me, I was probably hoping for a little bit more of a reinvention. Think Link's Awakening. Obviously, that got and that was divisive once again. But there was definitely no doubt that they'd really rebuilt it and really gone for something. They totally changed the look of it all, and I at least enjoyed the effort of that, because it felt like a new experience from the first time I played it at very least. But and it's obviously a different art style, different name, by the way, for what it's worth. It's like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which I forgot to remember, of course. But Chris, what do you make of the art style? Is it enough to differentiate it? Are you a fan of the slight different change of direction, or is it a bit struggle maybe?
I think it's fine. It doesn't offend me in any way. I'm happy enough with it. I mean, when it first kind of appeared in the trailer, I was like, oh, fine. It's like it's not like
a ringing endorsement.
Well, I mean, I'm similar to Joe in that. As much as I enjoy playing the remakes, and I'll undoubtedly have fun with it, it's not like the originals don't still exist and don't still hold up. And it's like you wonder if the development time spent on that could have been extra development time spent on a proper next gen, or whatever the next kind of installment in the main series will be. I get that they seem to have this kind of routine where they do like a remake and every now and then, but I'm kind of same with Joe's. I would like something significantly newer. I'll buy it and I'll play it and I'll enjoy it, but I'll have a pretty strong feeling of deja vu, I think, as I'm playing through it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They've got us right where they want us, in the palm of the hand, because people will buy it, and they will buy it and they will enjoy it.
It's also the thing that we're now old enough that Diamond and Pearl aren't the games we played as kids. And I see the appeal of like Fire Red and Leaf Green and like Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Everyone that one of these remakes that came out, one of the kind of selling points is that, oh, this was the one I played first when I was a kid. This was the one a lot of people, Gold was their first game, or Silver was the first game, or Red and Green, Red and Blue. So we're at the point now where the Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be aimed at kind of teenagers almost, for whom the DS ones were their first games. Yeah. So I wonder if we're maybe just too old to appreciate it now. It's just quite a depressing thought.
Is it Tad?
just a little bit. It's almost like these aren't indoors anymore. No, well, thanks, Chris, man. Just like round as I will be a lot. No, you're right. But to be honest, people will enjoy it still. And once again, I guess there's that new audience, is that install base as well on the Switch. You know, Nintendo aren't going to ignore that. Game Freak aren't going to ignore it because it's big. And that game, unfortunately, as you're saying, is pretty old now by video game standards. Anyway, it's at least it's a game worthy of a remaster, like The Last of Us. You know, which is probably getting one anyway, which is that feels like yesterday. But either way, I'm sure it will be received well. Pokemon Unite, I'll be honest, I don't know much about, but obviously it's a Switch and mobile MOBA. This one, do you have any expectations for this, Joe, personally? Is there anything you want to see from this?
Well, I think it's going to be a lot bigger than people are giving it credit for. Yeah, MOBAs are huge in Asia for the most part, like Singapore, China, Korea, Japan. So it's definitely going to be huge there. I don't know how it's going to fare from here, but from people who played the beta in Canada, because there was a beta in Canada a couple months ago, everyone I've spoken to who played it said that it's really good, really enjoyable. And so I think it's going to be like a sleeper hit of the year.
Yeah, I've got a kind of similar feeling. Yeah. I mean, there have been a load of Pokemon mobile games in the past, and they've all had varying kind of levels of success. Also, you've got Pokemon Go all the way down to like Pokemon
which
Smile.
is a genuine generational thing, isn't it? That level, so obviously.
Yeah, but I do have the feeling this one might. It obviously won't be as big as Pokemon Go, but I think it'll be up there. Like Joe says, I think it's.
This game. It's in development at Tencent's Timmy Studio, which also created Activision's Call of Duty Mobile, so they know what they're doing anyway. And it releases a free-to-start title for both mobile and Nintendo Switch with cross-platform play supported, which is massive, of course. I mean, the fact that it's free-to-play initially, there'll be in-game currency and all that kind of stuff. We know there will be. But that, as soon as you see a new Pokemon game on your mobile or Switch, whatever, people go download it, especially if it's free-to-play initially. So it could be that this is a bit of a breakout thing as well, because once again, they don't tend to miss when they swing, do they, really? And they'll know what they're doing there. But in general, there's lots coming forward. Is there anything that you were looking forward to in the idea of the 25th anniversary, Joe, that didn't happen, that you wanted to see come forward? You know,
I mean, I said this a lot on Twitter. I am really looking forward and hoping to get some news on Pokemon Sleep.
That's so Nintendo. I love it.
Yeah,
because that was announced in 2019 in the Pokemon press conference at the end of May. And it was originally announced for 2020, but we've heard nothing about it, presumably because of everything that's been happening in the world. There's probably been delays and everything, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to see more of it because I want to have some sleep.
And you'd also get away with not doing any coverage on Serbia because you just claim that you're playing through it.
Exactly.
I'm finally getting a rest. It's research, honestly.
What was the principle of this Pokemon Sleep? Because I remember it popping up, but obviously it's disappeared now for a couple of years. So how did it work again? What was the mechanic of it?
We don't entirely know. Basically,
that's the thing.
We know that it uses a peripheral developed by Nintendo for Pokemon Go Plus in order to track your sleep, and it can also be used in Pokemon Go to spin Pokestops and catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all we know, and it's by the same developers that developed Pokemon Magikarp Jump on mobile a few years back.
It's a weird one. I'm hoping it doesn't become another Wii Vitality sensor, which they kind of announced many moons ago as like a thing you put your finger in and it measured your pulse or your heart rate, and that was apparently going to be used in games, but then never came out. So I'm hoping it's not another one of those, and that it was an idea, and then as they've developed it more, they've realised actually this is rubbish. And then we're going to just pretend everyone forgot, but not Joe. Joe will never forget.
Joe never forget.
He remembers everything.
I do remember everything.
I got slightly addicted to Pokemon Smile, so I'm up for any kind of gimmicky stuff that will improve my life. Like even once I kind of figured out how the camera worked and that, the kind of, for those who don't know, it's kind of toothbrushing app. It's aimed at young children, but I got a kick out of it. And yeah, it got made brushing my teeth an enjoyable experience. So if it gives me an excuse to actually get some sleep, which is rare these days, then I'm all for it.
Where do you think we'll see Pokemon go, for want of a better word, really? Because obviously, like, it's not really died down. I was reading about earlier, and it's at its best calendar year to date. In the first 10 months of 2020, generating $1 billion alone, which is it's just insane, man. That I do remember when that launched, and that was obviously we all know, but that was it felt like the world had changed for a brief period of time, and I genuinely mean that. I worked at the time in Media City in Manchester, which is essentially where the BBC and ITV were based, and I remember seeing just essentially just producers and cameramen, everyone just stood outside mucking around the phone. So it was a cultural phenomenon, obviously, which died down to a certain extent, but it's still absolutely huge. I mean, what's the ceiling limit for this, I guess? I mean, has it reached there already, or do you think you can keep developing and changing and evolving in different ways? And any integrations you'd like to see with other games in the future or anything like that?
Well, in some ways it has hit its limit. Its user base has gone down a fair bit from where it was. That's not saying the user base is small, because it's still huge. But basically, they have been pushing a lot more of a monetization. There are a lot of egg events, like rare Pokemon are only in eggs for this week, and they might be shiny. Try and get it, which is like, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's not iffy. And then they added remote raids for playing at home, which was a fantastic idea, but also one which is locked behind money. And that's really part of why they had their best year, because they did these things, and it's fine. People can do what they want with their own money. But
yeah, of course.
There's also ticket events. I forgot that. But they have been building on it. They have been building and building and building, and it is a much different game to how it was in 2016. It's a much better game than it was in 2016. But a thing I'm seeing a lot in the community at the moment is, and the only way I can compare this is with a Simpsons episode.
It's the best way.
It's always a good reference. Yeah.
In the Treehouse of Horror episode where Homer gets a Krusty doll and he speaks to the merchant, it says, blah, 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 that's good. Blah, blah, oh, that's bad. Blah, blah, that's good. Blah, blah, that's bad. And every time there's an event or a new feature, you basically have that same thing. Oh, this is good. Oh, well, there's this drawback to it. Oh, this is also good. It's here for like.
That's Nintendo these days as well, by the way. That's just Nintendo these days. Like, they feel like, that's that in a nutshell what they're like, aren't you, as a company? But
so basically, the microtransactions in Pokemon Go are the cursed Frogurt of the.
They are the cursed Frogurt.
That is a word no one thought they'd be saying at the start of this day. Like, I guarantee that sentence has probably never been uttered before, by humanity in general. But I love it. I love the fact it's there. We've reached the part of the show now where we go to the hashtag AskVGC, and of course, our very own overlord Andy Robinson tweeted out earlier, and people replied with some Pokemon themed questions, because obviously of our very special guest here. I'm going to put it out to both of you, and this is from Jaycea. So at JACRCEA. Thank you so much for the question, mate. It says, if you could choose one Western developer to make a new Pokemon game from scratch, which is an interesting take, actually, who would you choose, and what would you like to see in it, story and gameplay-wise?
That's a really tricky question.
It is indeed.
I do like Pokemon spin-off games. I like to see new gameplay, new genres with Pokemon in it. So I would say, I can't remember who the developers of it, but the developers of Roller Coaster Tycoon. I'd like to see a Pokemon theme park creating game.
That's awesome.
But that's just
incredible, wouldn't it?
Me in my very, very weird mind.
I'm instantly devastated that doesn't exist.
No, you're absolutely spot on. I can't think of a better kind of like that's wonderful. And who made that? And I've forgotten who made them. It was Bullfrog who made the classic theme park games. You remember that they were absolutely amazing. Molyneux behind it.
I think Atari owns the IP now to Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, and Epic are publishing it. So I've just looked then, but that would be incredible, like some Pokemon kind of park kind of thing. That would be absolutely. Why does that not exist? That feels perfect for mobile as well.
I mean, that destroys my idea. I had a lazy one. I wanted Sumo Digital to make like a karting game, kind of like Chocobo Racing, but with Pikachu and a Volkswagen. Because why not?
a little camper van Pikachu there.
Exactly, that'd be great.
Unbelievable.
But it's significantly worse than a theme park game.
That theme park game is the most solid gold. I've never. That's printing money. Why have they not done that already? I can imagine that doing so well. Like Civilization mixed with Pokemon. It's just that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. The next question came from. Let me actually read that one first to make sure I don't say anyone's name wrong yet again. Alex Winton said, "What new genre of Pokemon spin-off stroke crossover would most appeal to you? Having already had a fair whack at puzzles, fighting games, MOBAs, and strategy games at this point, and what do you think that might look like?" I guess you just answered that in terms of a bit of an RTS kind of game. But is there anything for you in terms of genre that you've not really thought about yet, Chris?
Because if they've pretty much done the full range, they've done fighting games, they've done racing games, Pokemon Dash, they've done puzzle.
They've even got a first-person shooter.
That's right. I'm just trying to think of genres that are even left. Like, you technically can't really have a platformer because you had Magikarp.
You could do like a Pikachu kind of like side-scrolling platform or something like that. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
There was actually one kind of on the Pokemon Mini, and it was also a racing game, Pokemon Race Mini, and it was basically you have to do a platforming race across various stages.
That's right. There's literally no genres left. I mean, unless you want to go into like something ridiculous, like
complete the genres,
like a Souls like a Dark Souls.
I really want to see that. Yeah.
But other than that's a question that's impossible to answer because they have all been done.
Yeah, that's I do want to see a Souls like Pokemon for what it's worth. That would be absolutely insane, and I can imagine being incredibly difficult as well. They'd find a way to make that absolutely infuriating. I'll tell you what I would like.
Before you go on, I would like a proper third-person one. They did a couple of Pokepark games, but they were obscenely easy. I would like a kind of moderately challenging version of that, where it's a kind of third-person adventure game almost, which could be quite cool. Like walking about and being a Pokemon, talking to other Pokemon could be quite cool, but like one that isn't aimed at players and whose ages are in single digits would be excellent.
I think that's our problem, isn't it?
That's our fault for being old.
This next question came from, this could be quite divisive, from James Batchelor. And James said, which generation represents the peak of the formula for you? For me, it's Diamond / Pearl, the last ones to feel the most like the original Gen 1 and 2 games. About the hand-holding feel that in the most recent games, or all the added nonsense like the grooming stuff. James did not like the grooming. Each to their own, James, I guess. But which, I'll open that up to you first, Joe, if that's all right. Which is the peak of the formula for you, which generation?
Well, at the risk of getting Twitter mad at me, I'm going to say Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield are undoubtedly the peak of everything Pokemon. I mean, including the problems. But
that's a big call.
But the gameplay is the best it has been. The battle system is beautiful now. It's just so easy to get into, whereas before you'd have the constant grind. And that goes with the game's difficulty. People keep saying the old games were a lot harder. It's like, no, the old games had about 4 hours of grinding you had to do before you could do the next boss. That's not difficulty. That's just artificial.
Yeah.
I definitely think Sword and Shield, especially once you include the DLC, Sword and Shield is the pinnacle of Pokemon in my view.
Do you share that, Chris?
Yeah. Can't really argue with that. I mean, my favourite was Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but I wouldn't argue with the pinnacle. It was just the ones that kind of clicked with me more. It was the kind of although I'd already experienced it in Gold and Silver, like doing it again, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, when you beat the game and then realise you've unlocked the entire region from Red and Blue on top of that, was just like, but again, that didn't necessarily make it the pinnacle of the series. That was just like a nice thing to have. But we can't really argue with Sword and Shield, to be fair.
I think we've got time for one more question, and this comes from Daryl Baxter. Daryl said, can you see the Game Boy entries appearing on the Switch soon, starting with Red and Blue as a way of marking the 25th anniversary? What do you reckon, Joe? Do you reckon they'll appear, the originals, so kind of port fashion?
I was honestly surprised it didn't happen.
Same.
Yeah.
But I guess they might be waiting for like a Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy version thing, like the NES and the SNES ones.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of people are setting themselves up for a slight disappointment, but I think that's the next step. But a lot of people are expecting them to go N64 next with the Switch Online stuff, because in their head they're thinking NES, SNES, N64. But yeah, I can see it being NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, N64.
I think love to get the N64 stuff.
I think there's a
no Nintendo.
So yeah, I could see that. I could see them holding fire on and making maybe Pokemon Yellow or something, the game they launch it with, just to get people excited for to basically take some of the sting out of people complaining that it's not N64. They'll say, but it's Pokemon.
I would prefer Yellow personally. That was the first Pokemon game I ever played, and I was obsessed with Yellow. You're always obsessed with the first one you play, of course, but Yellow was my one. I remember I had a dodgy emulator on the PC, and that's how I played it. I broke my Game Boy. I sat there and played it. For some reason, the PC was in the hallway. I don't know why it was, but I remember sat there, clear as day, getting home every single day, literally right next to the door, sitting there, not moving all evening. And I miss those days, the innocent days where didn't have to pay bills and have responsibilities and all that kind of stuff, but it was good times. That brings us to the episode of the end of this episode of VGC Off The Record. Joe, thank you so much for coming on, man, and it's been massively appreciated. Of course, Cerebi.net is literally the home of Pokemon, the biggest Pokemon news information site in the world. It's absolutely incredible, as is obviously our very own Chris Scullion here. Thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Always a contractually obligated pleasure.
How are you finding it, man? Like, are you regretting saying yes to Andy now?
I'm going back to my job.
Yeah, he's not watching. It's fine. He's on holiday, being a good family man, which he should be. But either way, Andy's loss is obviously Joe's gain to be on here today. It's been wonderful having you two on chatting about all the news, obviously the big news from the Pokemon world over on VGC Off The Record. Don't forget, if you are a fan of this, you can follow us on all the major podcast providers, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. For now, though, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you all very, very soon.